Hey, good morning, Patriots. It's good to see you all. Good to be seen. I'm glad you're here because we're here. So here we go. Another day, another dozen things we have to get into. Overnight, we've seen some interesting developments regarding different stories. Different things are coming out. So without further ado, let's bring the guy who helps get things out for us in, Chris Cordani. Chris, are you there?
Yes, I'm coming out. There we go, just coming out. That's right, that's me. So
Everything is coming out. That's right.
yes, that's right. I'm coming out and, what was that song? There was some club song
I'm
called "I'm
coming
Coming Out."
out. It
Yes,
was, I want the world to know.
I think I
I forget the
remember
lyrics.
that. Yeah, yeah. I'm
What
coming
was that? It was Dionne Warwick? No, no, it was some other.
I don't remember. It looks like, I have to think about that. That's an '80s reference I don't remember, so I'm gonna have to look that up. Wow, you
It was a
stumped me
big
on this
what I
one.
think it may have been 70s because it was like disco, you know? I mean,
I always thought it was
as I
'80s.
recall.
Well, it looks like it's a real song. It's Diana Ross.
It is. Who?
Diana Ross,
Dinah
"I'm
Ross,
Coming
that's
Out."
right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm coming
Wow.
out. Well, we're not announcing anybody coming out. We're just saying things are coming out
Ah,
because people are putting things out, like an innie or an Audi. Or like an Audi or an innie, and not driving an Audi. An Audi, is that how the Germans got that name? They looked at a belly button. It's like, no, we want Audis instead of innies.
I don't know. I just remember that those are nice cars, but yes, the Audis, Volvos, and Saabs, they're supposed to be safe cars. I remember George Carlin used to make fun of that. He goes, "Yeah, some of these misfits by Volvos and Audis and Saabs." I like the way you said that, Saabs. And they go, "They're really safe cars." Well, and then Carlin says, "Well, you have to learn how to drive the thing before it's a really safe car, you know."
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
and
having said
Saabs are
that,
pretty. Well, Saabs. If you bought a Saab, you're sobbing because they don't sell them here anymore.
no.
And wasn't it? Didn't Jerry Seinfeld buy a convertible Saab from someone on his show? And it
Yeah.
was like Kramer was taking golf clubs and throwing them out or something like that. I have a vague recollection of that. So.
What was that? Wasn't the golf clubs when they were in Michigan or something? No, there was something like that. They had Putty's golf
Something.
clubs. It was Putty's golf clubs. That's what it was.
Oh, and they bought John Voight's
Yep.
convertible, and
Yep.
then John didn't spell his name like that.
Oh boy, they got ripped off there.
Oh, those were the days. Those were the days
Yeah.
when
When
comedy
comedy
was
was
funny.
good. Yes.
Yeah, comedy was. So, just so you all know, Chris and I are cooking up something sometime soon to do something with one of our Hollywood friends who he's a big star. He's actually an A-list star. I talk about him fairly often because we're friends. And we want to do something. We want to talk about movies that we couldn't make today, right?
Yes, we do. We're gonna be doing that. We did some of that before on the Outhouse Lounge with, you, me,
Yeah,
and we talked with a bunch of people. We also had Pete O'Brien on as well talking about that. But yeah, we wanna do a little more of that. There are a lot
yeah.
of movies and TV shows that wouldn't be released today, and we wanna get everybody involved in this one.
So, obviously, if we do, generally speaking, just so people know how the magic's made,
Right.
we share guests between platforms, right, Chris? I mean, come on, we can
Yeah.
admit that, right? We do, we do.
Well, there's nothing wrong
So,
with that.
no, there's nothing wrong with that.
We're intersectional.
Okay. Did you call Joe Biden about that and ask
Yeah.
him? It's like, can we be intersectional? Are we permitted to be intersectional? Did you get Karine Jean-Luc Picard Pierre's opinion about us being intersectional?
You know, they could
No.
loan me 50 million, what, $5 billion, right? They could loan me all that money. I
50
could do that.
billion. We'll talk about that
50
soon.
billion. That's right.
Well, I want to talk about what we talked about coming out. And coming out of Congress was a report, an ethics report on Matt Gaetz. And I haven't seen it. I don't care to see it. I just don't care. But the story to me is, and Jonathan Turley did an article in the New York Post about it today. Susan Wild, a defeated congressperson from, I guess, over by Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, decided, who cares about ethics?
Oh, it's the party MO now, isn't it?
Why? Who cares? Why worry about ethics? I'm only the senior ranking member of the ethics committee, And I took an additional oath to protect information being discussed on the committee. But who checks? Who cares? So apparently, g- channeling the Joe Biden way of, oh no, I'll never pardon my son. It's like that scene we always talk about in Casablanca,
Right.
where Captain Renault is in Rick's cafe, Rick's Americana, and he says, "I'm shocked to find gambling going on." And the guy walks up, "Here's your winning, sir." "Oh, thank you."
You're shocked, I tell you.
Find gambling going on.
It's the MO of basically it's the MO of a lot of politicians. I'm not saying all Republicans are saints either. We don't want to fall into that trap.
No, I'm not
But
saying that,
but this is
but
this has been the Democrats' MO for a long time.
yeah. Now, this Susan Wild is a bit of an interesting case anyway. So she got in trouble. She lost her race to a Republican by 1.5 points. It's not a lot, but enough.
That's enough.
And yeah, and she got in trouble because she attacked her own constituents. That's a real winner. You start attacking the people you want to vote for you. I think things are not going to go well. And then
Well,
she always had this holier than thou attitude about her own, something not smelling.
Democrat wokeness and condescension is going to doom that party.
Yeah. And this person again, I saw this today when we were doing prep. Jonathan Turley, who was not a Republican, not a Democrat, he's a true independent. I know Jonathan. Just kind of goes through and lays out the entire kind of case against the Democrats at this point. And I don't know. And let's ask the Patriots in the chat. Have you all ever thought that the Democrats were the party of justice, of fairness? Let's ask everybody. Yeah. I'm going to write that in there.
I was writing it in already. So while you were speaking, I actually typed it in there. So here's a big nope quickly from Born to Ride for 45, who, by the way, will be on with us in just a few moments.
He'll be on
as well.
soon. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then you got Denise Chris Nutt for a
Yeah.
long time. Are the Democrats the party of justice from T Spooky? Who's that T Spooky guy that keeps showing up? I'm kidding.
Yeah, I wonder who he is.
Yeah, then there's another one. M. Heath, I never thought that. Hell no, I like that. TS Money, I like that too. So I guess it's the consensus here is Dems talk a big game, but they were never the party of. Well, no, actually, they are the party of justice if you say it right. Just us. They're the party of just us. There we go.
Susan Wild has a record of just us regarding her, and I think it's just a travesty. So anyway, enough about Democrats this morning. I think. Oh no, we have more. There's more, Chris. How could I forget the $50 billion going to Ukraine?
Oh, but it's a loan.
It's a loan. It's a loan.
You want to let's hear your favorite Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yes, let's do it.
Loan.
To provide a total of $50 billion to Ukraine.
I have as much experience in foreign policy as any president in the history of the United States has had.
Aggressors,
all of it bad.
Tyrants will be responsible.
If we do not lead the world, what nation leads the world?
And that's an issue here. There's a nice intro to the show here. That's where that's a nice little intro they put together on the.
And I like Devery
Dawkins.
Obviously, I go to his stuff a lot. He does a really good job of.
So we're shutting him
to
out
the nub. He cuts to the nub, which I wish maybe the Democrats could use some cutting. Just saying, not that they're nubby Democrats, right?
Well, yeah. Well, there you go. So a shout out to him, and yes, he gets to the nub. Well, I like to beat around the bush.
Are you still coming out?
I am coming out in a lot of ways. As a matter of fact,
anyway,
I might even be a furry pretty soon and put the. There's that thing with these kids wearing. What's this thing with these kids wearing animal costumes?
My son just went to a furry convention in Chicago. No, my son just went to one of those things.
I heard you can meet babes over there, so I don't know.
There are babes in it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think I've seen some of the cuter cosplay of the babes, and they're like foxes and stuff. So, literally.
You need not worry because young men, and I admitted to this on Monday when you were doing Newsmax with Ruthie Gordon. No, it was when Eden was here. When Eden was here, I admitted to this.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. I once tried the route of being a Democrat in college for about 3 months to try to get babes. I learned a couple things. The babes you get aren't, well, let's put it this way. They usually are adverse to shaving their armpits. And this was back in even the 80s and the 90s. Also, It got me so sick. I kept puking in my mouth, even thinking about things like that. And I just said, forget it. I mean, forget it. I just couldn't do it, even to get babes.
I I know we all do desperate things as young folks. I'll talk more about that in a bit. I want to go down that path, but not this minute. But with that said, well, we're talking about furries and critters with claws. So the question to the Patriots, I'm putting it into the chat: should President Trump claw back that 50 billion once he comes into office? Because this this is added to the 64 billion that the Pentagon's already given him. That's what Lloyd Austin's estimate is.
Mm.
64 billion. And then on top of that, 119 billion before that.
And
So
think
one's
of,
enough.
think
One's enough.
about right. But look what else they're doing. They're also throwing. You have that Secretary of Commerce, and I always forget her name. She's throwing. She's depleting all the tech initiative money before Trump gets in. You have Biden's administration depleting all sorts of our budget before
Yeah.
Donald Trump gets in.
Oh, yeah.
First, they know that Trump's going to cut a lot of things, but the fact is they're trying to uh, make his first year a living heck for
Absolutely.
Americans.
They did it,
Right.
they did
So
it
they can
last
try to
time. They
take over.
actually,
Yeah.
they actually drained the entire White House operational budget in 2016 to 2017, so they have no money to come in with. And I know from talking to Mike Flynn that happened, by the way.
Right.
So
And what they're
it's a good reminder, good time. If you want some dependent absorbance, Joe Biden is your man. Right there's Joe.
Oh.
Just go out and buy some. You'll feel better about
Well,
the 50 billion that he's sending over. So
here's the problem. It's going to be long forgotten by the time 2026 rolls around. The Democrats are going to systematically blame the Republicans with the media in its pocket saying the same thing. They're going to blame Trump and try to take over Congress in 2026 on the basis of economic problems, thanks to what they did by depleting as you said, the administrative budget, the executive branch administrative budget, and of course,
yeah.
depleting a lot of the economy and our own overall budget in for 2025, 2026. Right
So
here.
before we
And now.
break, yeah. But so the one thing I want to point out, and everybody understands, a lot of folks here in the chat are from North Carolina, like me. Where's the 50 billion to Western North Carolina, where people are literally still living in tents?
Yes.
I find it unacceptable that we have a president who's literally willing to rebuild Syria with Al Qaeda.
Yep. Al Qaeda light.
The guys in charge there are actually terrorists with bounties on their head. And this is not fiction. So he'd rather send billions. And by the way, who do you write checks to? We were talking about this with Ed last night, Ed Henry on the
Makes
briefing.
sense.
Who do you even write checks to? Like, we're just is it going to be like Ed McMahon walking around with big checks and just handing them out, Chris? Did you know about that?
I did get the call. I said I'm not going to do that for them. So yes, that was the plan.
That's good.
I told them to
That's
keep
good.
it a little secret, but nah, I'm gonna rat them out. It doesn't matter. They deserve it.
Serious. I mean, how do you even get the money to them? They're terrorists, for God's sake.
Well, they're gonna
And
they find a way. Democrats will always find a way to bring money into these kinds of people. I mean,
unbelievable.
right. This is a problem here. I'm guessing they barely know who's running Syria right now, even though we kind of
That's
know
true.
we know who the rebel faction is and what they're going to do. They just want to, again, this is another enemy to Israel. They want to kind of bolster that up as well. I do not trust these people right now, especially for they still have their toys to play with for the next 4 to 5, I guess 5 weeks right now. They're going to do what they can to screw everything up. So when they leave, they can blame everything that Trump has to fix on Donald Trump.
So let me ask you a
Right.
question, Chris. This is an important question. This is a question for the folks in the chat. Do you think that Jean-Luc Picard, what's her name? Pierre Jean-Luc.
John
I always get her name.
Karine
Pierre.
Jean-Pierre. Oh,
Do you
Jen
think
Psaki
Karine-
Light.
Do you think Karine is playing spin the bottle with Hunter Biden at the White House? Just asking.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess either that or she's playing What's My Line?
That could be.
That's a different kind of line.
They could
though.
both be doing lines. Just saying. So
Look, she has to be doing lines to be able
It
to
is-
stand up
it's-
with a straight face and tell people that what the administration is doing is the right thing. You have
it's
to be
well.
for that.
She is gay, but it doesn't mean she wouldn't play spin the bottle with with Hunter, especially if they're doing lines. You know, it is Christmas, right? A lot of snow, right?
Right.
Doing lines of snow.
And besides, they're being intersectional. They're being
Intersectional.
inclusive. That's
Yeah,
right.
folks, get with the program.
They're
Intersectional is
inclusive,
the word.
right?
That should be our word today. It's like Pee Wee Herman, the word of the day.
We'll go,
Remember that?
"Ah!"
Ah!
Let's make that the word of the day today. If somebody says it, we'll
That's
scream out of it.
intersectional. That's a great word. Just see if our guests come up with the word intersectional today. That'll be great. I wonder if we could get that Pee Wee Herman thing. So I used to always do that. We'll have cherry and I can't remember the name of the
what was a table? Was there a table there too? Cherry, the table that they sang "Connect the Dots."
No, Cherry was the chair
Hmm.
because I had a friend named Sherry who we used to make fun of Sherry and Sherry. Just saying, it was spelled differently, but I don't want to get into it because I'm sure Sherry will get upset with me. Anything I say from this point on, just saying. So
Well, maybe
we'll
Frankie
leave
Valli
Sherry
will
out of
too.
it.
Right.
We'll leave her out of it. But it was college. What can I say? What I'll say now is that we're going to bring in who are we going to bring in first?
Let's bring them
Chris?
both then. Why don't we do the whole
Oh,
thing?
okay.
We can just enjoy the party right now with George
There's
and Tim.
first off, there's Tim Wilson. Tim Wilson of Project Sentinel. I know that guy because he basically is one of the board members that runs our team. Hey,
That's
good
right.
morning, Tim.
Hello.
Good morning. And you're in the People's Republic of New York. Is that correct?
That's
Up-
right.
Yes, but in the upstate part.
So you're in the lesser controlled hinterlands, right? That's pretty accurate, right?
No, there's still a vast amount of control here, but at least we have enough room to ignore it.
Well,
Well,
you
speak-
might, but they're spending
Yeah.
she's doing her best to spend all the tax money from upstate and all the cities anyway with all these silly initiatives of hers.
Absolutely. Well, what money in the cities? I mean, they spend far more than they give out.
There she is. Vampirilla from Plan 9 from Outer Space. There she is. Yeah, she's great. Anyway, and Tim, I also, before I bring in George, good morning, George. We'll get to you in 1 second. I want
Good
to
morning.
finish with
Good
Tim.
morning, everybody. Good morning, Tim.
Morning,
Yeah.
George.
Good morning.
Hello,
And then, so apparently, Vampirilla or Governor Hochul, there she is. There's Governor Hochul in her earlier
The
days. While
resemblance
she
is
was
there.
That's a
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
match.
she was good. She was good in that
That's
movie.
a
by the
visit
way.
to the children's hospital, I guess.
That's right. She was good. She actually had a better personality in a movie than she does in real life. But I'm digressing. She's offered you guys like a 500 million rebate, like fool's gold. It's like, oh, we're overtaxing you. We're going to give you some money back. Isn't that what she's trying to do right now? Is like rebate you some of your own money?
Yeah, which is a pretty remarkable thing considering how much in debt New York State is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. $300 to some, 500 to others. And basically what they're calling it an inflation refund. The fact is,
Yeah.
why don't you just cut spending? That would help us as well. Cut taxes, cut spending. That's even more so.
That would be real.
How about hiving off Manhattan to be its own state or something?
Well, again,
I'd sell it to the Saudis. Just let the Saudis have it. They could develop it.
well,
Just give the whole thing to the United
Yeah.
Nations.
well, I will
Yeah.
say that I will say the Chinese Communist Party interests own a good portion of Manhattan. Again, that's
Exactly.
another story for another day.
Well,
But
speaking of a place where there's no communists, good morning, George. Welcome to. No, I mean he's in Florida, right? You're in a communist-free
There's a-
state.
wait a minute,
There's a few down here.
isn't
Listen,
Debbie
that-
Wasserman Schultz
The
there?
song that you were playing before about "I'm Coming Out" was that for Lindsey Graham?
Ooh, oh, that hurt. Heyo, that deserves a heyo.
So, all right, George, you brought this up. I'm going to have to open the door. So, did you ever think it was peculiar that a Navy guy named McCain always went with Lindsey Graham everywhere together? Just saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was just going to say that.
Well, that's a funny thing because Dr. Corsi on his show always says, he says this a lot of times, Lindsey Graham and his boyfriend, and just so he has a little fun with that too. But you did say that Florida was a commie-free zone. I beg to differ, and there's a reason why.
All right, you tell us why, Chris. Go ahead.
That's why.
Ooh.
Yep. Yep.
Deborah,
Really
wash
down here.
your hair, Schultz. Yeah. Hey, look, let me ask this to George. George, why does she always look like she just stepped out of the shower with her hair like that?
I think our side job is as an electrician. I think she puts her fingers in the outlet before she dries her hair. That's what I think it is.
In the outlet, I don't know if I like
Oh,
that.
a receptacle outlet, the for electricity.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but there's other receptacles I think she sticks her finger into. Just
Yeah,
saying. So it's
that too. Yeah.
Yep.
probably
She's
there.
the Gus
You
Hall.
go.
She's the Gus
Yeah.
Hall of Florida. There we go.
Yeah, Gus. If Gus had a daughter, it would be Deborah Washer Schultz, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe she is his
thought-
daughter. Maybe he got
Hmm.
around. Maybe he went to communes and she was her mom was in a commune.
Well,
And
communists.
while they were
commune, yeah.
communing,
Yeah.
while they were communing, that she was a result. I think it's possible. We should have somebody investigate that. Let's call Tom Fenton a judicial watch, see if they can investigate that.
I like
Well,
it.
they get elected down there because for the simple reason is the supervisory of elections, which are Democrats. All of a sudden,
Right.
the Democrats keep on counting until they win. So I mean, they bring extra, especially California. They're still counting. They haven't stopped.
Yeah.
And down in Florida, where those locations where the beds are of the Democrats, they
Yeah.
keep on bringing the ballots in and stuff like that. And that's what's got to get straightened out is the supervisory of elections.
Didn't DeSantis fire one of those folks a few years ago, George?
Yeah, that was what's her name? She was in Broward County. I'm trying to think of her name.
Well, let's see if we can.
But
We'll
she
let
had to
that
be
one out.
fired.
Meanwhile, in Europe, they still use paper and pencil and count all the votes within 48 hours.
That's how it
I know,
works.
it's incredible.
Oh well. Okay. Well, hold on a second. Yes, they do. But in Romania, apparently, if they don't like the winner, it's always Russian disinformation, and they have to
That's
annul
right.
the election.
Did you guys hear about this? Bring it up. You have that, Chris? Can you bring
Yeah,
it
I
up?
have that. I'll bring that up. Give me a few moments here. I skipped ahead. We kind of called an
basically,
audible
yeah,
on
it's
that
okay.
one.
So
But they also have-
this candidate, the Romanian candidate, came out of the blue. He's a Romania first guy, right? He's conservative, and then he's beaten the pants off his opposition, something like 63-31.
Yep.
And so they go into the final round of the vote. It's like, oh yeah, and oh by the way, he learned how to use TikTok effectively, and according to the Romanian courts, it's Russian disinformation.
Exactly.
And we're going to cancel the election.
Yep, and BBC goes right along with it. The state-run
Yeah.
BBC, who,
No.
by the way, and this always happens whenever you see a left-wing media or a so-called mainstream media site describe anybody to the right of, let's say, Emmanuel Macron, they're always considered far right. So the
Yeah.
first round was won by Kellen Gorgescu, and I hope I have that pronounced correctly. That's what they said. Almost unknown far-right NATO skeptic
Far right.
who was previously praised Vladimir Putin, which usually means, well, he probably said Putin wore a nice suit once.
Well, you
And
do
then-
know the BBC stands for Britain's backing communists.
Right, they are state-run
True.
media, and it's
That's
text,
true.
yeah, yep. But the key word is NATO skeptic.
Yep.
The idea is NATO's basically
Put,
NATO's
put me in that category. I'm skeptical of NATO.
right. Well, it's the thing. Over the last maybe 10, 15 years, NATO's I guess what's the word? Its guise has kind of fallen off a little bit. It's become an organization where it's just become a power organization, an aggression organization in a lot of ways, and it's become a U.S. taxpayer funded weapon of war, if anything, or weapon of a diplomatic weapon, rather than a defensive alliance like it used to be.
Yeah.
So, well, I think that's the thing is that anybody, the Overton window has moved. Basically, anybody who used to be essentially moderate is now a conservative, and anybody who was conservative is now an extreme conservative. It's insane, unhelpful, and I just don't care because I think at this point most of us are JFK 1962 Democrats. At least that's the way I think we would be politically sat back in 62.
We'd
So
like to say that.
yeah. So George, what do you think?
Well, I think NATO's a waste of time, but we just keep on dumping money in it. Biden did a good job of giving them more money. I think Trump will stop it again, as he did the last time, or make everybody put their fair share in it because, and that's one of the things with Ukraine. What bothers me about Zelensky, he never wears a suit. I don't understand
No.
why. With all the money we're giving him, he can't buy a suit when he makes an appearance. I just
He
Yeah,
has
why
an
do you-
image of
Yeah.
being kind of short and
I still
smelly.
hang it upside down.
Well, okay. Vladimir Zelensky, we have to remember, is an actor and he's playing a part.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Vladimir
a comic,
Zelensky is playing the part of the tough. He's playing the part of. I'm going to give you this guy. Remember Commander Zero?
Oh,
There you go.
Yep, Commander Zero, the rebel. He's the tough guy. He's the guy that's phasing off the evil empire, as he says.
Yeah.
We're the underdogs. We need your money, and I'm not going to dress up in a suit. I want to be a regular person. I want to dress in olive drab, just like my soldiers are, because
Yeah.
I'm the fighter, just like them. When he's really in his he's cushioning around. He's begging for money. It's from every Western European and North American country he can find.
Well,
Yeah, that's what he's doing. But he's
let's talk
playing a
about that.
part.
So,
right.
Yeah, he's short and smelly, and that's what he wants to be. That is what it is. But Tim, to you on this.
yeah. I've got one quick comment, which is that the US is now giving $3 for every dollar that the entire rest of NATO gives to Ukraine.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
And we're footing their bills too, by the way.
Well,
Let's add that to it.
It's a total of $282 billion we gave him already.
Right. So that's my point. So Tim, to you, I want to let me
That's
frame the
282.
question. So at this point, you and I have not always agreed on the issues regarding Ukraine. No secret there.
Yeah.
I think you were way more pro-Ukraine than I was early.
Yeah.
And I wasn't anti-Ukrainian. I was anti-spending all the money. It's like,
Yeah.
I just
Right.
knew that the people in charge were morons. I mean, let me just run through a few of them. Jake Sullivan.
Yep.
I mean, you have this picture there, Chris.
I'll get Jake Sullivan up there. Give me
yeah,
a
Jake-
seconds.
Jake Sullivan, Lloyd Austin, Tony Blinken. These people couldn't manage a donut shop on Fifth Avenue. There's Jake.
What comes
Jake.
after dumb, dumber, and what?
Yeah. Well, winking, blinking, and nod. And blinking and I do mean is the middle one. So that's what I'm saying. It's like I just saw early on that no matter how much you threw at this, there's not going to be a victory. If you gave, I don't know, let's pick someone totally stupid like Nancy Pelosi, unlimited money. She, all she's going to do is spend it on things which are not relevant to anything
The
but
vodka
enhancing her
and
political
ice cream
party.
diet.
Vodka. So to really believe somehow these people were going to help Ukraine win, to me, was insane. So that's my position. What do you think?
I have a real problem with the entire thing. I mean, are we looking at the stupidest administration of all time at all levels? There's something way, way off because so many of their actions, policies, I'm not sure they have any policies, but
That's part of the problem.
yeah, they
Their
are.
policy is orange men bad. That's their policy.
Yeah, that's the policy.
Yeah, the problem is that's it's been incredibly expensive and, unhelpful. They are the dumbest set of senior administrators in existence, as far as I'm aware. And
You bring up a great point, Tony. I have to ask you, what was that? What was that number again? How much money have we given to Ukraine?
232
George
billion.
had the total number.
Right, $232 billion. To put that in perspective, that is $132 billion less than Dr. Evil wanted when he tried to take
That's
the world
right.
hostage. So
That's
keep
right.
that in mind. So even Dr. Evil wanted $132 billion
And let's put this
less.
in perspective. So that's nearly $250 billion.
yeah,
Now we are running up debt. I don't think people understand how much money $1 trillion is, and yet we're running up $1 trillion every 100 days at this point because of Joe Biden. So to me, and Tim, this goes back to Project Sentinel, I don't think the founding fathers ever envisioned a government that would continue to write checks well beyond its means,
no,
putting the very citizens it's supposed to protect in debt.
no,
You agree with me on
absolutely. They all believed in living within their means. To put that 232 billion into perspective again, it is 1/3 of the debt repayment that we have at the moment for the national debt.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's insane. You're already in debt to the tune where you're having to pay out $1,000 a month, and now you're going to spend another $300. What?
What about the 157 billion that we lay out for the illegals?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's another
Well,
one.
George, I want to get to that, but let me ask you, George, do you think this is a money laundering operation? I'm
Of
just
course.
asking. I'm just asking
I
because it
mean,
looks
you
like
gotta
one to
be-
me.
You got to be like Stevie Wonder without the glasses. It's
Right.
No,
unbelievable.
hang
There
on.
you go.
It's a counterfeiting operation. It's a print as much money as you want operation.
Well, they want to do that before Biden gets out. And don't forget,
Yeah.
look how nice Canada was. They took all the weapons from their citizens and sent them to Ukraine because that's not going to help them in the war.
No, of course not.
Is
No,
that
that's
sorry?
Yeah, what a bunch of hockey
You
sticks.
mean actually
Like,
Yeah,
that's
let's talk
not
about
going to
that.
help Ukraine.
Yeah, hockey
They
sticks.
don't even have a good
Piss off
hockey
the
team.
51st state?
Yeah, that would be good.
We
That
don't
was
want
good
them.
with
We
Trump.
don't want them as the 51st state because, again, that's at least what population, blah, blah, 6 electoral votes for the Democrats, and nobody wants that.
A quick one though. Did you see that MSNBC was saying that Trump had called him the governor out of confusion?
That's not true.
Really,
He's
that's
trolling him.
Joking. Yeah, they're really
He's
taking this
trolling
way
him.
too seriously.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
gone. These people on Joy Reids of the world, those people are just far gone.
Yep.
They're believing their own bubble. And I'm going to quote that. I'm going to quote that producer. I forgot his name. The one from the O'Keefe Gotcha video. He goes, MSNBC is making its viewers dumber,
Yeah.
Yep.
No doubt.
deliberately.
But back to this point before we go off of it, Tim, they are wrapping the Canadians. They're wrapping a good intent in that, we're going to help Ukraine. By
Yep.
bad intent of literally trying to take what they call assault weapons, which I
Yep.
argue is no such thing.
Yep.
It's just there's weapons that have the ability to have magazines and repeat. That's what they are. They're repeaters, and
Right.
they automatically chamber. Yeah. And so, but what they're trying to do is say, we're going to take your weapons and give them to the Ukrainians for self-defense. Well, what happens to the Canadians' ability to self-defense then? What's that about?
The lumberjacks and the grizzly bears are just going to eat them all.
I'm a lumberjack and I don't care, right, Chris? That's a good song.
Well, you do eat all night and you sleep all night and you work all day. So
That's right. That's right. So, but no, Tim, on that point, they had this minister of silly dances. Is that what it was? Or silly
Yeah.
walks?
The
Came
Ministry of Silly Walks.
I'm sorry, I got this image of Tony wearing high heels.
Oh, well, you could work for the Biden administration if you did that. So different.
That's right. I
Absolutely.
would have been secretary of like Solyndra or something.
Isn't it amazing that the Senate approved, the Rhinos approved their picks of
Yeah.
dress and the
Oh
guy
my
that
God.
dressed
Good
up
point,
and they
No.
won't pass Pete Hegseth. That's another story.
Well, I want to talk about. We'll talk about it in a second, but let's finish with Canada first. So
yeah,
there's a lot of whining from the left. Speaking of CNBC and MSNBC, that these tariffs are going to do terrible things. Oh my
Yeah.
God, why are we going to do that to our friends the Canadians with the largest unguarded border in the world and
Right.
all the maple syrup they give us? How could we do this? So,
that's important for me. Maple syrup, I like them.
well, I just George. I mean, what do you make of the fact that you have this now whining? It's like, oh my God, we don't want to
But-
do anything.
I tell you one thing that amazes me. All of a sudden on TV, there's commercials about Canada, about how Canada funds jobs in the United States. Just
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
it just
well-
like popped up with all this bullshit that was going on. I was amazed with that. I mean, with the commercials that's coming up. So it's the propaganda that Canada's putting out. I mean, if you watch the commercial, like this one, it just between the pharmaceuticals and all this bullshit
Yeah.
that they do.
Well, add to that the $200 billion trade imbalance, which is jobs effectively going to Canada from America. Right. How do you turn around and say we're costing them jobs? That's bullshit.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the point, Tim. They're afraid. Justin Trudeau, he's afraid of what's left of their economy. What he's ruined.
Yeah.
And I've seen Canadian CBC and some of the other Canadian broadcasting folks talk about this. Those who are honest, they say basically, look, Trudeau has ruined our economy, and if you then start diminishing the trade imbalance that gives Canada benefit, you're going to really put him in a hole, right? That's what's going on, right? Tim?
Absolutely.
You got to cut them by the knees. That's it. Even
But
China, the same thing with China.
But he does a good
Yeah.
job with the pronouns. He makes sure everybody uses the proper pronouns in Canada, especially when he's speaking somewhere. So That's why they voted for him. And
Don't
keep in
they,
mind,
don't they arrest people in Canada for using the wrong pronouns?
and I
Yes,
think
they do.
Britain too.
I think that's England, but yeah, I think they're
Yeah.
going in that direction.
Here's the thing about the Canadian elections. It's run like it's a parliamentary system. The party with the most votes has the prime minister. The problem is it's a multi-party system where I believe Trudeau had 29 or so percent of the popular vote his party did, and he still became prime minister. Was that I think
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
So he got in at 33,
Well-
29. He's not as popular as people as he's being made out to be.
Same in
Absolutely.
England, right, Tim? Look at
Yeah.
Keir Starmer. He
Oh,
was like
please don't.
29%, 30%.
Please don't. My poor old England. I'm
Gotta wait 5
okay.
years now.
I left for good reasons.
Yeah.
And I wasn't running away, but I do feel for them.
5 years. Let's hope the Reform Party takes enough strides in 5 years to take things over, because the Conservatives have become labor light, as you've seen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nobody trusts them, and that's what the election did. Nobody trusts them. So the vote was split, and hopefully people will learn their lesson over the next 5 years of tyrannical rule.
Well, not just
Right.
that. They got in and they had 5 years and they didn't carry out any of their promises. They
No.
didn't lower any taxes. They didn't do anything positive for the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I
go
spoke at a
ahead.
club last night, and I told him, I says, just because President Trump won, it doesn't mean it's over.
Yeah.
We're in the eye of the storm.
I got to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Yes,
We're
exactly.
in the eye of the storm here, and they're circling the wagons there, the Democrats. They're not going to sit back and not let this happen too much. You
Right.
know?
Well, thank you, George. That's a great introduction for my read. So I got to go through and talk about colonial medals. No, it's perfect.
No, I'm sorry.
What a segue.
Just because President Trump won, we're not out of the woods. I mean, George said it. It's true. So we've got to be prepared. We see right now, the economy is still not good. They just had job numbers, which they're saying are good. They're always revised down, always.
Mhm.
So I don't buy it. You shouldn't buy it either. What you should buy is gold and silver from Colonial
Right.
Metals Group. Check out Paul Stone and his team at Colonial Metals. Go to https://colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed-Henry. Good morning, Ed. Our evil overlord, I'm sure, is watching. He was watching yesterday. Told us the sound wasn't on, so I'm
Oh, I
sure
hope
he's
he
watching
enjoyed
today.
I hope you enjoyed the
Yeah.
banter yesterday, even though it was
I
very
didn't.
silent.
I didn't get an emergency text saying, "Hey, we can't hear you." You know, it was like the George Bush thing. You know, I can hear you, and you'll be hearing us soon, right? That was
What we
yeah,
did get to see, Tony, which was really cool, because Karen and I had a nice conversation. We were hoping people could read lips. We're trying to type along with everybody. We got
Great.
to see Karen Turk at age 11 or 12 doing a Nickelodeon
Yeah.
commercial, and that was really cool.
That's cool. Well, but back to things which are cool you can do today, which is Colonial Metals, gold and silver. Reach out to them. Put the scanner thing on the screen there, Chris. Can you do that? colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed-Henry dash Colonial Metals Group /Ed-Henry. Man, that's a mouthful. 800-805-4034. If you want to do it the old-fashioned way, pick up the phone. We made fun of rotary phones too. I guess you could still use a rotary phone to call the 800 number, right, Chris?
I would think so, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact.
800-805-4034. So, yes, hi, Ed. Yes, people are saying hello, good morning, Ed, to Ed in the chat. So, good morning, Ed, to you.
I'll send it.
So, anyway, Colonial Metals Group, you will go right. You will never go wrong with them. Go right, go strong, get gold and silver. That's what we're asking you to do. You'll thank us later, because things will bounce back, but you want to be prepared if they don't happen as quick as we all hope.
Somebody in the chat said,
No.
"Who's that?"
I know. So I have an audible. I'm doing an audible because we have a request on this. There's folks want to talk about the UFO in New Jersey. So
Oh,
I'm going to talk about it real quick. So look, I'll just say this. Nick Pope and I were on a few weeks ago. Tim, you don't know Nick Pope, do you?
no.
So Nick and I are on my network, Newsmax, and we talked about the history of government secrecy regarding this issue.
Yep.
Now, I know there are programs out there which protect technology. I don't want to get into that today, I don't want to go down that path, but I can tell you that so far, the technology programs I'm aware of, and they publicly said it's like this wasn't us. This wasn't us. So
And we can
I
believe
tend to
that.
believe that for a couple different reasons. But with that said, then if not us, if not a foreign threat, then who?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're at in the movie. I think the government knows way more, and Nick and I said this on air that the government, for any number of reasons, knows way more about what's happened and why things like this do happen. So,
Can I?
yeah,
there are
go
two-
ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
Tony, I have to say that there is either gross incompetence by the intelligence community because they don't know, or there is gross incompetence by the intelligence community because it's one of them and they haven't come up with a decent cover story. So I'll just help them out a little bit. Maybe it's traffic monitoring by the Department of Motor Vehicles. Maybe it's parking monitoring by the city. Maybe it's think of your own excuse. Why the heck haven't they come up with that at least to relieve the public instead of trying to pretend, oh, so they're admitting it's so incompetent they don't know, or they're so incompetent they can't come up with a decent cover story.
It's that balloon story all over again. Here's something that's very important. If you look at the map here from Fox News, these drones were floating over against New York City and Trenton. I'm not sure why they. I guess they flew over Trenton to for the information gatherers to know what not to do with the city. But again, different story, different day. The two other locations are more peculiar: the Picatinny military base and the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster. I believe these are more strategic locations that drones are looking for, and the others are probably decoys. If in fact this is enemy intelligence or some kind of other issue.
Well, it could be now. So and Trenton's pretty important by the fact that downtown they've got a really nice kind of homeless area. So the homeless area there, I'm sure, is being very, very much surveilled.
I think it's looking for new routes.
I would be if I were aliens. Just saying, it's like getting through the Jersey and the Jersey Turnpike. Like, are you kidding me?
Yep.
I can only do 80 when I could do warp 5.
Yep.
Maybe they heard about those panthers that were running around after jungle habitat closed on back in upstate New Jersey. That's another story.
Yeah. Could be.
Or the ghost car on what was that, Clinton Street or whatever that street was? There's like some kind of ghost car that follows people.
Tony, didn't they say that some of the drones were following ships and stuff?
Yeah.
Out of Jersey?
Yeah.
The naval ships?
Yeah.
So,
I
don't
trust.
say that.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, they can't even shoot a balloon down. What chance have they got against a drone?
Well, that's
Well,
the
they're
thing.
going to
After the
shoot that
balloon
down
story.
because they're too large. They're worried about the people down there, but they could break up their radio signal and control them if they want with the technology that we got.
So, yeah, let me address that real quick. So we have developed technology. We actually were using this in Afghanistan as early as 2003. You can disrupt if something has to use the electromagnetic spectrum. You can either mimic it or disrupt it. You can actually get into it. Tim knows this stuff.
Yeah.
And so the question becomes, why are we not actually ahead of this? Because we have some amazing technology I don't want to get into, but we do have some amazing things we can do in this area, which I don't know. I don't think we, the United States, were doing whatever happened in New Jersey. Just saying. So I don't know.
And once again, that just shows the incompetence and stupidity of the people in charge.
Who's the current director of CIA? Oh, Burns. He's pretty incompetent. He's one of the wink and blink and nod and knucklehead.
Well, Burns, yeah. Another one.
Yeah.
Like I say,
Anyway,
the most incompetent, stupidest administration of all time.
Yeah.
So again, after that balloon situation, don't trust anything that comes out of their mouths when it comes to aircraft over any portion of the United States at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Historically stupid.
Anyway, some of the folks in chat are talking about spiritual. Look, I think Tucker's correct. She's talking about spiritual stuff. There are spiritual issues. I just don't think the New Jersey one's one of them.
Yep.
No. I mean, look. Again, we should also include the UFOs. I'm not going to call them UAPs. That's the politically correct version of it. But we should put that in the discussion that there is life out there, and there may be we could have some of these drone ships or these small
Yeah.
ships coming from other intelligent life. Yes, that's possible, but the odds are it's a craft from within the from around this planet. That's what the
Well, I
odds
think
are.
right. And so we move on in 1 second. But did you hear, Chris, that the entire that they're going to remake the movie, a movie version of Lost in Space? Did you hear about that?
Oh no.
Yeah, and they're going to hire the entire cast from the Biden administration.
Yeah, that would
True.
Oh yeah.
It's true.
Lost
Not
in
It'll be
Washington.
very realistic.
Memorize their lines.
Wait a minute. I think
That's
we
right.
found wait, breaking news. I think we found the men behind the drones, behind these
Uh-oh.
drones. This is new. I just found it out breaking, and here they are working in their lab.
There he is. That's right, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew.
And Jake Sullivan.
That's right.
apparently.
Yes. So, well, let's go back to one of our favorite topics with Tim here. Tim, one of the things that's being contemplated right now by Trump, he said it is national carry reciprocity. So every time we talk about something positive, like I've been listening to the Bulwark, the neocons, because they're all freaking out. So Bill Kristol was all upset because because Florida was going to this expanded anybody can carry. You don't need to apply. Basically, it's constitutional carry, and so the left neocons. What are the neocons? I mean, they're not conservatives. I guess they're like the neo-libs. They're just idiots. They're idiots. Anyway, so two questions to you, and then I want to have George answer it too. But first to you, Tim. Do you think that we should have nationwide unrestricted concealed carry? And secondly, do you think Trump will do it?
I really hope he does. Yes, I do firmly believe we should have national constitutional carry, which is open or concealed carry without a permit.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me. We now have the majority of the country, 29 states that have constitutional carry, and the blood is not flowing in the streets the way the gun control freaks have all claimed it would. Not only that, but in a lot of in those constitutional carry places, people can carry their AR-15 style weapon on their shoulder, and again, it's the cops know how to handle it. They're managing quite nicely. They believe in people having the right to defend themselves, and they know that you can go hunting with an AR-15. It's a perfectly reasonable weapon to use, and it's familiar to so many people. It's the most popular long gun in the country. So yes, I believe in it. And will Trump do it? I think he will. I really hope he does. And even if he doesn't, I think the courts are moving that way. A lot of cases are now moving up to the Supremes. Maryland, there is a challenge to an assault weapon ban because, amongst other things, what is an assault weapon? Nobody can define it.
Right. So, George, over to you. So you live in Florida.
Yeah.
And have you seen people running down the street shooting each other with this expanded authority?
I think people are more smarter than that, shooting bullets up in the air. They're going to come back down again.
Well, it's from Florida man. That's a different story. A Florida man usually uses flare guns. That's a lot more fun for them.
But we're doing fine. I mean, I carry. Wherever I go, I carry. I just don't leave home without it. And then when I go to another state, I feel naked. You know, it's a pain in the ass. And
no, I obviously have my stuff ready to go whenever I go out. No.
Basically, what they're saying is you're a potential protector in one state and a criminal in another state.
Yeah,
and that's an issue.
Yep.
No, they crucify you. You go to New York, they catch a weapon on you. Even if you separate, the clip and put it in a box and everything else like that, it's still, I guess.
Here's how stupid it is, George, in New York. I've got a concealed carry permit upstate New York. I can't go to Manhattan with my gun because suddenly I cross the line and I become dangerous.
Yeah, and then you cross another line, you're going to pay another $9-10. So
well, I want to ask about that.
Sorry.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the First Amendment permits us to speak freely anywhere, right?
Yep.
Anywhere but somehow the amendment next to that is restricted. How does that make any constitutional sense?
Yep, it doesn't.
It's welcome to the blue states.
Not only that, it's not just the blue states, it's also the fact that so many of our politicians don't trust the public. I do.
Yeah.
I have to believe that the vast majority of Americans are good people who are not going to go around shooting each other.
Well, here's another thing. There was a time when politicians served the people a lot better because they were afraid of their public at times. I mean, I'm not saying we should bring back the days of tarring and feathering some of these people, but there should be fear of repercussion. There should be fear of another January 6th. I'm not saying the riot part, but I'm saying the big protest part. There should be fears of these things going on, where politicians should know they should do the right thing instead of make money off the backs of the taxpayers.
Oh,
And
Chris,
service.
politicians doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But again, if they had the fear of being tarred and feathered, if there was a less of an incumbent's advantage, if you will, and they didn't have a media where they had more, let's say, critical media like us gaining more prominence to them, then they probably would think twice about doing some of the things they do, or they'd think a little more about keeping their true campaign promises.
And can I say one thing very important? I think it's important. At the meeting last night, we had a guy who was a J6, and he spoke to President Trump's attorney. They're going to be pardoned. All right,
They should be.
Oh, of course. That's good.
Yeah, there's rumors that are out that they're saying they're not going to be. And everything I told everybody last night, you got to pay attention to what Trump says. Nobody else. Period. And the other thing is they also arrested 6 J6s in Ohio.
Yep.
Yesterday, and 2 in Florida.
Yep.
So they're going to get as many as they can before the end of the term of Biden.
Yep.
And this is the game that's being played, which people don't realize because of what's going on. And Tony knows this conversation we had before, Tony and I, that we have to keep our eye on the ball, because what's happening is that they have these leaks, which Tony knows, right, Tony? The leaks that come out from our own people. Just to call, I mean, look at Joni Ernest about she's all for the transgenders in the service. I mean, you know, and it just that what we have, and like you said, if we get in their faces, go to their homes and tell them, yo, you're not going to get reelected again. That's what happened with Jody. All the people called her up. Everybody called her up.
You know what? You bring up a good point, because there were a bunch of lefties crowding Brett Kavanaugh's home at one point.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep.
But that was apparently okay, but it was not okay for some people to crowd Nancy Pelosi or anything like that, or crowd the Capitol building, which, by the way, is public property. It all depends on whose side the media is on at this point, as far as who's right and who's not when it comes to.
When I got questioned by the FBI, they asked me if I knew if I was a restricted area, because the fence was put up. But one of the Capitol Police opened up the fence.
Not only that, what happened to it being the people's house?
That's right. Well, I brought that up too.
Yeah.
But they had nice drone shots.
But AOC was so scared.
I have to just say that the biggest thing of all, look what's happening with the ethics committee in Congress.
Yeah, there's an oxymoron for you.
Yep.
It's a what do you say, a dog and pony show. That's all it is, because they don't have excuse me, they don't have the ball that they're supposed to have. You see how Trump sits? He sits with his legs open. Johnson, I think, sits with his legs closed. And most of the rhinos are the same shit.
That's because when you wear a dress, you have to close your legs.
Well, that's what they do. They cross their legs. You saw Biden, every time he talks, he crosses his legs. So you know you don't have him.
Well, I think I do believe that Tony has a product that can help with all of that for some of these guys too. You know, so nothing leaks, if you will. And he showed that earlier during this program.
So yeah, George, I think there it is. So George, I think we need to get on the bandwagon to help Joe do his thing. I think,
he doesn't have to cross his legs anymore. There you go.
That is, look at that face. Only a face only my mother would love, and Jill Biden apparently. So maybe is that why Jill was flirting with Trump, because of that face? Do you think? I don't know. It could be.
That's what I carry on my arm. See that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful tat.
Looks good. Looks good. I'm not a big fan of needles, so I don't really have tattoos. But that's another story.
I did that a long time ago because I wanted to make a point. So when I hit somebody with that arm, they know it's coming with a message.
Nice. Yeah. In New York, we just use the brass knuckles, but that's another story.
Eh.
Well, but let's finish this off because regarding the Second Amendment issue. So to that point, Tim, Massachusetts, New York, Chicago,
Yep.
they'll all go nuts if people can actually carry weapons. What do you think? What do you think they'll do? What do you think the blue states are going to do if all of a sudden Trump says, "Hey, Tim and George and Chris, they're all good guys. We're not, they don't have to pretend that somehow they are devalued regarding their ability to have a weapon safely carried."
I think what will happen is that an awful lot of people in those places will need to go to some cliff somewhere and start screaming. They'll have scream sessions, and undoubtedly they will be, requiring vast numbers. I would think seriously about investing in coloring books.
Well, they do have adult coloring books for millennials at some areas. Out
My
there.
only concern is that ex-Marines will also join in for the crayons.
Oh,
but did you hear Tom Homan said everybody wants to come out of retirement?
Yeah.
All the Border Patrol and veterans. And we offered our help too. I'm good friends with Tom Homan, and I told him, I says, "You'll have all the bikers you want. We'll gladly help." I was down in Texas. We did that. We were deputized.
Yep.
Oh, one more thing,
go ahead,
guys. If I don't, I just want to throw this in here because you actually threw this to me earlier in the week. What do you guys think about what's happening this weekend? The Army-Navy game. Both teams are very good this year, and
I was just working on that.
And we have a Heisman Trophy candidate on as far as the quarterback from Army, who doesn't really throw, but he's rushed. He's one of the leaders in rushing as far as all of college football. But this looks like a really good game considering Navy's 8-3, something like that, and Army.
Yeah,
is 12,
I literally just got my ticket
right?
show up. My tickets to it just showed up. So
nice.
Yeah.
It's a great. This is going to be a powerhouse game. Smash mouth football all the way. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, so the Army's going to have the nuts uniform on. Not that we're nuts, but the famous McAuliffe comment at Bastung. He was asked to surrender. If some of us remember, I guess it was December of 1945. The Germans had done the Battle of the Bulge, and part of the Bulge. We're not talking about bulging out of the neck like John Kerry, like the bolts, not that kind of bulge.
Yep.
But I digress. By the way, did you see that John Kerry got a portrait at the State Department? We should talk about that next week. Anyway,
all right,
back to the topic.
But I should have said AAC conference champions.
Yeah.
Army. That's right.
So anyway, it's going to be I'm trying to get to the point of the Army uniform. It's special. It's going to be basically shouting out to the 101st Airborne.
Yep.
Screaming Eagles,
as
cool. Opposed to the Screaming Beagles, which is Charles Schultz and Snoopy, right?
Right. Or the guy that drives the van on Grape Ape.
That's right. That's different.
I'm going to.
And then you've got the Jolly Rogers as the Navy. The Navy's going to have their Jolly Roger, the skull and crossbones, not to be confused by the skull and crossbones that George Bush 41 had. That's different. So let's not conflate the two. Anyway, it's going to be a great game. No, that's not Snoopy.
That's Beagle from Grape Ape.
Okay. All right. Well, now we're getting too remote for even me to understand what's going on, Chris. So,
all right, we'll bring Snoopy back.
My point being is it's going to be, and as I said, I actually did the Fox News coverage of this. I posted it on my social media yesterday, back in 2016, where we did the coverage. And what we said then is true now. No matter who wins, who loses, America still ultimately wins because both teams are great. They're going to be removing woke from the military. Oh, by the way, Secretary of the Army fired a 4-star general because of his woke nonsense. I don't know if you saw this. Chris is not probably ready to bring it up, but Christine Warmer, the current Secretary of the Army, fired a 4-star Army general for basically trying to force a minority lieutenant colonel into command without authorization. So maybe this is a good sign. So let's hit that real quick. Do we think that woke's about to be broke? We're going to have warriors like on the Army-Navy teams getting back to doing the business of protecting the nation. What say you, Tim, first to you? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
The odds are low that at this Army Navy game anybody will kneel, but going forward after this year, I think that will absolutely not happen. I think that woke is a disgrace. I think that what you want is warriors, and you want people who can meet standards. I don't care about what race, color, creed, sex, or anything else somebody is. You set standards and you stick to them.
Yeah. Well, that's why this guy got fired. So to make a story, this has been kind of simmering for about 2 months now. This I'll just say it. He's a black 4-star.
Yep.
He's a DEI guy. You know, it is what it is. And because he felt that merit was not the basis for selection for command, he tried to shoehorn a lieutenant colonel into command, who apparently, by all accounts, is incompetent. But he felt, well, skin color is more important than competence. So, what do you think, George?
Yeah, well, I agree with like you said, color doesn't matter, but they put this guy in for that reason, and it's like all a plan. They constantly their mission was to destroy our military. Period. Doesn't matter which way you want to look at. I mean, didn't they take a couple of ships out because they don't have enough people joining the Navy?
Yep.
Because of this reason with the vax and all this other crap that they try to force on people. And now when Trump gets in, he said he's going to hire whoever wants to come back and give him back pay about with that left with the vax and stuff. So I think that's right. That's a very good promotion to build our armed forces again.
Yep, and they can pay for them just by cutting the number of generals back to World War II levels.
That's correct.
The ratios of generals to soldiers needs to change, and flag officers back to sailors needs to change back to what it was. If it was good enough for running a world war, it's good enough for now.
Well, let me end.
I was going to say, General Flynn said, "You F up, you move up."
Yep.
No, let's end it on that point. So the U.S. Navy right now has more admirals than they have ships. Think about that.
Yep.
That's what you say next. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, well, that's it. We got to go. It's been a great show. George,
thanks again
for being here. Born to Ride 45. George, what are you doing now? What are you I know we've had this discussion. So what are you doing for 47, or what's going on with your?
Oh no, I'm going to send you the new thing that we got. But I had a meeting with the Trump the Trump people in the administration.
Good.
And they want me to keep the name as Born to Ride for 45. But I'll send you the new patch, what we're doing, and we're going to add 47 on each side of the patch itself.
Excellent.
The numbers on the outside, but I'll show you what it looks like. So I'll send it to you, Tony and Chris.
I'll wear it. I'll definitely wear it. All right. And Tim, of course, you can find Tim and us at projectsentinel.com. And Tim is the guy that helps make that work. We focus on constitutional issues.
Yep.
And so I hope, Tim, we are adequately funded to help make sure that we send, speaking of the Army, the 101st Airborne in to rescue you and Chris from the People's Republic of New York. We hope to have that rescue
would be nice. That would be
up
good.
and running someday.
Thanks, Tony.
Eagles.
It was a pleasure meeting you, Tim.
Good to meet you, George.
Well, thank you both, and thank you, Patriots. Thank you. But we've been a very active chat session today. So Trixie and
Trixie and Deborah Lynn are here.
Deborah Lynn and Trixie are good. We gotta have them on our show sometime too. Anyway, so they're going to be doing.
We'll have to put them both on. Yeah.
We'll do. They're going to do the show on Friday. So you guys can kind of just cohabitate. What was that word we were using earlier? Translucidate.
You're going to be intersectional.
Intersectional. That's right.
They're
going to be intersectional.
When we put them on, we're going to be all intersectional. So that sounds good.
We'll be intersectional next week. So that's right. You guys did not bring up the Pee Wee Playhouse word of intersectional today. So unfortunately, you guys, but maybe next time. Anyway, we are intersectionally yours. We'll see everybody Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Another regular week for the team. We'll have our regulars back and a few other surprises too. We're trying to work on some surprises. Unfortunately for us, some of the surprises it's still like 5 a.m. where they're at. Just saying, that's a hint of where they're
Yeah.
at. So
Hey,
We'll-
Tony,
we'll
Trump
work
will
on
be
it.
there.
to get up.
Tony, Trump will be at the game, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
will
Trump
be.
there,
That's
right? So they'll be
yes, he
doing
will.
the YMCA dance for the Trump dance. At
Yeah.
the end,
So, yeah,
hopefully.
All good.
yeah. So we'll see everybody. Well, and I'll talk about the game on Monday. That'll be great.
Yeah, we're doing a big tailgate party at this place. There's gonna be like about 500 people there.
Cool.
Good.
I'll
All
send you
right.
pictures.
Well, thanks.
All right,
Okay,
thank you
good.
very
Well,
much. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Have a good
folks.
day.
We'll see you Monday.